Hello, my name is Iain McNay. Welcome to Conscious TV. Today our guest is Ray Menezes. Hi Ray.
Hello.
So Ray has a book out called Blood Washing Blood. Interesting title. And maybe that's the starting point, Ray, to ask you why you called it Blood Washing Blood.
Yes. It was. I mean, just to add to this, it was. I had to really battle to get that title. The publishers really didn't like it.
I can understand.
Tried to talk me out of it, but it was so important to me, certainly at that time, and it still is actually. I came across it through a Zen teacher, Bankai. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I heard of him, yeah.
At 1600, he was around in Japan, and he used it in a slightly different context, but it really triggered something in me. And he was saying that, he was using it in the context of meditation and saying that, if you try to meditate to clear your mind and clear your thoughts, it's blood washing blood. It's like washing a garment in blood and trying to clean it. The very thing you're washing it with is the problem, it's like, it's just, and it can never ever work. I mean, so, and what I realised was that relates to almost everything in the world. That's what we're doing with the ego. That's what the ego is. It's blood washing blood, always, That's why religions, end up being, far from religious, if you like, because it's blood washing blood.
Yeah, because that's what people that don't meditate, and you say, well, actually, I meditate, and they often say, oh, that means you're stopping your thoughts.
That's right.
I said, no,
it's
it doesn't work that way at all.
Yeah, no, it doesn't, no. And in fact, it's really, a big point along the way, I think. I mean, about, a couple of years, actually with the cancer, I think, when I had cancer, which was 3 years ago, something at that point just suddenly stopped struggling with the thinking. It's like, just let it all be. Whatever it is that's happening, let it be, and suddenly the meditation became so much easier. There was no struggle anymore. There was no fight anymore.
Yeah.
Still, that wasn't the end of it, but that was quite a big point, I think,
Yeah, somewhere in so many of us, we strive to be different from the way we are.
Yes, that's right.
And that's the beginning of another set of problems,
well,
isn't it?
That is blood washing blood. It's the ego trying to, basically saying, I'm not good enough. I need to be different. I need to improve or be better in some way, be enlightened even. It's like all of that is denying that we are this, whatever that is.
Yeah. So your story starts, the book starts with your story when you were in Sri Lanka, when you were 25 years old, 26 years old, and you were swimming.
Yes.
And then you were in spotted trouble.
Snorkeling,
yes. So just talk us through what happened there.
Okay. I'd got up very, very early in the morning. I think I need to say beforehand that the reason I was there in the first place, in Sri Lanka, was actually to kill myself.
Really?
Yes, it was. I'd intended to commit suicide.
Really?
Yes. Huh. And the plan was that when I
you must have been very unhappy then, were you?
Deeply, I think. Certainly when I was in England. I think what. The result of a number of things, my upbringing and, a broken marriage and a lot, a number of things, led me to a sort of an incorrect realisation, I think, but nevertheless it's what drove me to want to kill myself, which was that life is suffering. Basically, and actually, I can't see any sign of this stopping. That's all I've known so far,
right?
And that's going to continue. So I think I was travelling in the hope of finding a solution to that. I still had hope that there was a solution, but until Sri Lanka, I hadn't found it.
So you basically left your life in England as it was and just went on a kind of a mission for
yeah. I mean, I took 2 bottles of codeine with me to do it. So I was absolutely determined that's what I was going to do.
So So it's almost a question of finding the right spot to end it all.
Well, I mean, in my mind, I imagined that the plan was when I ran out of money, I was going to, find a deserted beach somewhere and just finish it.
Wow. So anyway,
at that point, I for some reason, who knows, I got up very, very early one morning, and I'd never done this before. I'd never snorkeled before, but I had a snorkel kit with me, so I went out and there's not a soul, there's no one around. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, something like that, and it was amazing actually. I was sort of looking at the fish and the coral, and it's just extraordinary, really beautiful. I sort of lost track of time, and eventually sort of, just decided to put my head up, I guess, and see, and when I did, I realised I drifted out. The tide had pulled me out, and I was quite a way out at sea, and I just panicked. I mean, I just absolutely panicked, and the snorkel came out. I couldn't get it back in, and I tried to swim, and and I think my belief is that at the time anyway was that I can't swim. I'm not a good swimmer, and so the panic was real.
Must have been
quite
intense,
extreme, And then eventually I ran out of energy, and I just couldn't swim anymore,
So you say eventually, how long was that time span?
It's just it probably wasn't a great amount of time, minutes, 5 minutes, couple of minutes. Yeah. I don't. It's hard to know. Yeah. And I began to sink. I started to actually go down, and I was coming up and down a couple of times. And at one point, I sort of came to the surface, and I could see the beach in the distance. And there's just not a soul. It was so clear to me. Even if there was, they couldn't get to me in time. So it was over. I knew it was finished in a way. Something wasn't a fault so much. It was just a realization. This is over. And at that point, everything stopped. The world stopped. It's just absolute peace. And at that point, I'm sinking again. And as I'm sinking, I'm back admiring the fish, and it's absolutely.
It's without the snorkel this time.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, and it's extraordinary. I'm looking at the colours, and there's no fear, there's no pain, there's absolute perfect peace. Really, with that clarity, I could see the water was really clear. I could see the sun shining through, and I could see in the distance, maybe about 20 feet away was a coral reef. And I just instinctively knew if I could get to it, I could stand on it.
Right.
And it would get my head out of the water. And that's exactly what happened. Once I knew there was something to, within reach, I just knew I could do that, So, yeah.
So you got to the reef. And
I stood on the reef, waited a short while, got my breath back, put the snorkel back in, and got back very easily. Actually,
swam back.
I mean, there wasn't any fear anymore. There was no, and I was very easy. It wasn't a problem. It was the panic that was going to kill me.
So you got back to the shore.
Got back to the shore, and I can't. It's hard to explain this, but everything had changed. It was not. There was no trace whatsoever of the suicide, the pain. It's just gone. All of it completely gone. And in fact, something very interesting happened, because as as the day went on, I began. I was meeting people. I think I was sharing a flat with a friend, and I suddenly, far from me being sort of depressed and in pain, I could see the pain everyone else was in. It was like I'd never seen that before. Just wasn't there. I was so engrossed in my pain, I couldn't see their pain. And that was quite a revelation to see the extent of that in the world.